I tell you what, just like what I said in my press conference at New Mexico State last week, very bittersweet feeling because when you're at a place for 8+ years, you have a lot of relationships and friendships, and it never seems like work because you ingrain yourself so much into the fabric of what you're doing. The people that you hang out with are your coworkers, and all the people that made the Saluki Way stuff possible. All the donors become your friends. So that's the most difficult, time that Heidi and I, my wife, have had to deal with is leaving a bunch of good people. I want to thank Walter Wendler. He's the one that took a chance on a guy that had never been an athletic director, hired me in the summer of 2006, and met some great people in my interview, and they became friends to this day. Certainly want to thank Rita Chang as well. There's been a lot of people to sit in that chair from a chancellor standpoint, but she was one who I think really understood the value of intercollegiate athletics, and she was a big athletic fan, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank her for her being a champion of a lot of stuff we did. But really, from an opening statement standpoint, I'm thankful, feel blessed that I got to work with so many good people. Everything that you've ever seen written for me, Tom's been behind that. I just maybe make a couple little changes here and there. Andy, I'm looking at a guy, Andy Pettit, who's got 2 degrees here in engineering and an MBA, and he's, picking up the trash at times, as our facilities guy. I mean, you don't get people to do that. He does it because he loves this place and he has a passion for it. So I could go on and on naming people, but I'm just thankful that we've had so many people to kind of put their heart and soul into this job. Kerry Blaylock was on the committee who hired me, just working with great coaches. I always tell people I got to work with Jerry Kill, who's one of the best coaches in, I think, the history of college football. So just very fortunate. What kind of places that you got to hang out with Jim Hart, get to know him. Walt Frazier, hang out with him and get to know him. Steve Finley, pretty unbelievable history. And, a lot of the staff that are in this room, Chet came with me from Missouri 6 months and has been here the whole time. We brought Mike Reese from the dark side of you media people to in our fold, and he's done a tremendous job as well. So it's the people, and the other thing too, it's the people who bought into the vision of Saluki Way. There was not necessarily a culture of giving prior to, and I mean big giving. People had bought their tickets and their things like that, and people were receptive to the vision that we thought was possible. And a lot of people did it. I always give Brad Cole a ton of credit. When he was the mayor here for our Saluki Way gift with the sales tax initiative, obviously the students and the people that were in power at the time to make that happen, that was huge. The student fee was a big part of our funding. But to raise $12 million privately for Saluki Way and Itchy Jones Stadium, we didn't do that. We helped a little bit, but all we did was kind of create a model, and we just asked. It was the people who gave, whether it was Greg Cook, I think, who started, or Roger Tedrick, or Jimmy Kirianis. Those people were the ones that believed in the vision, gave their money out of their own pockets, and now we have arguably one of the most comprehensive, top to bottom, great facilities in our league, and quite frankly, where we sit in the world, other than the BCS schools, I've been a lot of places, top to bottom. We've got some really nice stuff. So I'd like to thank the donors as well. And, and finally, before I take questions, I want to thank you guys. I think you've always been very fair to us in the media. I hope one of the things they'll say about me is I always answered a telephone call or a text or an email. I was pretty good with, giving you guys my cell phone and stuff like that. So I appreciate all the coverage, good and bad. We always had a good relationship, no matter what was, whether we were up and down. I think, we had a good relationship with the media as well. So I'll just ramble on here forever. Hell, Trap's in the room. Christina Trapani is a former softball player here, 4.0 finance major, and now she's running our ticket office. That kind of encapsulates the other joy besides the facilities is looking at the student athletes that have come and gone. I can't tell you what it means to get an email from David Lewis, a guy that he and I kind of clashed some heads, say, hey, thank you for everything you gave me and allowed me to finish my education, or a Chris Deeker, or our current players like a Johnny Rigby in tennis or volleyball. You know, it's the student athletes who have gone out of their way to stop by the office or send a note to say, hey, I appreciate everything you did. You made an impact when you were here. That's kind of maybe ultimately the most gratifying, much more than any of the bricks and mortar stuff that we've been able to do.
Mario, you probably touched on it a little bit. How do you feel like your career will be defined here at SIU?
Well, I don't know. That's going to be for you guys to do that and for the donors. I think certainly people will talk about the facilities renaissance. I mean, that was obviously a big ticket item. I think that's what they will say first and foremost. Hopefully they'll say that the academics of our kids have never been higher. You know, we've hit all-time highs, not just in the sport of men's basketball, but kind of across the board, so that's unbelievably important. You know, I think we've been involved in the community as much as we've ever been. I was very fortunate to inherit this program from a really solid athletic director, Paul Kowalczyk. And Paul and I are buddies. You know, we don't talk every day, but we're very friendly with each other. And, we had a tremendous run of athletic success. So on the flip side, I think a lot of people will say, well, I wish you would have kept winning, more like we were. Hey, I wish that too. But, and I think we've talked about it from a historical standpoint, we were on some pretty unprecedented runs there. So I think you'd be remembered for, the positive, and maybe on the other side, hey, I wish we would have kept, being number one in football, or I wish we would have kept going to NCAA tournaments and Sweet 16s in basketball. So I think those things probably.
Yeah.